So, all right, this is mostly to Trick. Now, Trick, I don't really appreciate how moralistic your argument is. I don't mind there being moral pressure. There should be, but we're discussing morals. So you can't say I'm wrong because my morals are wrong when what we're discussing is what the morals should be. And also, you seem to suffer from this idea that a lot of people suffer from online that y'all come on here seeming like you expect to find agreement. That's not really an irrealistic thing. What you should expect is that as you discuss things with people, you'll get to a point where you find where your irreconcilable differences are. Now, I like to look all the way down into the level of epistemology, right? A lot of people want to stop the thing as soon as they see that there's a disagreement. That's like, okay, we found the disagreement. I'd like, well, let's keep talking. You might find out that some of those disagreements are actually complicated webs of ideas that can be sorted out, and your actual disagreements is a smaller set. But also, even if that doesn't happen, I just find it interesting. I've traced my ideas down to the epistemological principles that I work from, and those principles could still be further broken down, but I've gotten to a pretty, low level. So I'm interested in seeing how those things work for other people because I'm a philologist in the sense of how also words go together, also a lover of logic as well as, logos, ideas and words, or just words, but the reasoning, how they link together. I was always interested in this idea as a kid of the train of thought, like that there's ideas, one leads to the next, and that's logic. Making an inference is logic. So in general, any system of making inferences is a system of logic, even one that was erroneous. So we would say that's not very good logic, but if it's a system of inferences, then it's logical. So I see we're breaking things down, and we're discussing morality, and we have a difference in our morality. We could see that, and I think it's of use to break it down and find out what the more fundamental differences are. You will point at the horrible things, the horrible ramifications of my moral decisions, and then I point at yours, and you admit it, but then you keep talking like, no, yours doesn't have the problems, or is absolutely better, but it isn't. So here's for example, he talks about a feral cat living about 2 years. So let's say that happens, and then the cat gets sick, and is sick for 3 months. And it gets really bad. Those 3 months are the bad part. It gets bad. It's a terrible thing. Now, that cat still had 75% of its life, even though it's just 2 years, where everything was fine, right? And so, difference in our morality has to do with, no, I'm not advocating that terrible thing that happens to the cat as a good thing. I'm saying that 25% of that versus 75% of that, there's a good chance that adds up positive. And you will also say, yeah, but what about the creature that doesn't have a good 2 years, that has a negative 2 years? Well, yeah, that whole case was tragic, and this is where the moral principles come in, is that I think it's good. As an individualist, I believe there is value in an individual creature getting to make the choices of survival that impact how things turn out. And then no other creature could really do that, because one creature likes the sunlight and one creature likes the shade, and they could both be cats. And so I can't put cats in the shade or put them in the sun and know that's what they want. They have to have some freedom. And I think that's of a value. And since this question came up with pets, let's talk about, hey, you live 10 years. And a cat lives 10 years, and that's not old, so it dies young. And it has a 6-month ordeal. So that's 95% of the cat's life. It was good, and it was sheltered and taken care of and healthy, because it was taken, to the vet, defleed. I don't think that 6 months makes the whole life not worth living. And also because we have the ability to say that, well, when that 6 months starts, I don't have to wait the whole 6 months. 2 months into it, things start to get pretty bad. You're having to make a very painful decision about euthanasia, and you do that, and then you have 10 years and just a couple of months, right, of your life. And I think that's a worthwhile risk. And now you're going to say, oh, but you can't risk that for other people. Well, I can risk it for parts of my own body. I could risk it for this finger and also this finger, right? And I can risk it for my sperm as well. And later on, that will become a different creature. Later on, when it is a different creature, then it gets to make its own decisions and take its own chances. And it can decide, while it's perfectly healthy, as far as I'm concerned, to commit suicide once it's of majority at least. And that's rightfully a personal decision. It's not a decision I want to make for someone else. And when you're talking about, well, but I'm making the decision that they should take that risk, and I'm making a value judgment that that risk is worth it, that that's a good thing, that there's living creatures. And this is how living creatures work. And the idea that a human being might live 90 years and then have a really bad final year, they could take themselves out. They can also have pain pills. Don't tell me that I'm advocating that they suffer. I'm all into technology and actions that can reduce that suffering. Killing them when they're 5 years old to avoid the whole 95 years of pleasures that they also had a chance at, that doesn't work out for me. That's not a better choice. And it's because I value life. And I don't think that just because a part of a life is bad and terrible, and that we have evolved nerve endings so that we can sense when there's something wrong, that we have emotions so we could sense when there's something wrong. Those are also good things. I don't want to lack those emotions and be happy as could be when something is wrong. I would rather have the emotions that tell me that I should do something about it. And in fact, then if you act to rectify the things that you feel are wrong, that feels good. And if you succeed, it feels even better. But even just struggling for what is right is a positive in life for many of us. Now, many of you aren't interested in that. Fine. Having the chance to either act on that or not is of value. And when you simply say, look how terrible when things die, how terrible it is. You talk about the cats torturing mice. It's the same thing with the mice. And whatever the mice predate, it's with them. And whatever it goes throughout all the animal kingdom, that if you have 3 good years and then a bad 4 hours of torture with the cat, that is a terrible thing. That's something I would like to stop. I do stop it when I see a cat torturing some animal. I free the animal. And if the animal is obviously not going to recover, I will euthanize it. I'm not for that. I'm just saying that it all adds up together with the chance of enjoying life, right? So hopefully that clarifies things a little bit.